What is going on, everybody? Man, can y'all believe it is the end of June? I am Lawrence Henderson, y'all, and
Crazy.
here is another episode of Hot Takes where we're always seeking to be humble, open, and transparent. And y'all, today is going to be a fun one. I got our business brand ambassador, Nkiru, here to drop some platinum nuggets on you all so y'all can get
Woo.
y'all's authority on. Nkiru, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Lawrence. I wish I could have you follow me around everywhere. It's like my hype man.
Well, I tell you what, I always get excited, particularly for these hot takes episodes, because it's an opportunity again. And this year was all about pulling in practitioners, people who
Mm,
have some battle scars, some battle wounds,
mm,
but they're digging
mm,
into the work that they do and why it's important to them. And so, the first question
right.
before we get rolling, tell people where you are in the world, and then a little bit about yourself, and then I'll ask you your why question.
Okay, sure. Well, I am in Toronto, Canada. So, what up to anybody who is here in Canada? But I am proudly originally Nigerian. I don't even say original. I'm proudly Nigerian. I also grew up in the UK. I also lived in the States. So, you know, I'm kind of global, but I'm currently in Toronto, Canada.
I tell you what, me and my wife, we visited Toronto when we lived in Michigan, and we love Toronto.
Yeah, it's a
It's
cool
just a
city.
mix of cultures and it was really, really cool hanging out there. So I can
Yeah,
only imagine living there. You're like,
yeah.
it's normal.
It's very cosmopolitan. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
love it. I love it. So in Kiru, we talk
Mm,
about a lot, and you've probably been seeing them. They've probably been all in your inbox. All of these thought leaders, all of these gurus, all of these
mm,
folks who can teach you how to increase funnel traffic and all these other things. But
hmm.
why, of all things, why did you become passionate and purposeful about brand and business and building authority? Like, where did it all start for you?
Okay. I mean, I think as with like most people, when they get passionate about an idea or they start coaching on an idea, it's from their own personal like experience and pain and challenge. I mean, I come from 25 years in content, marketing, media. I used to be a journalist. I used to do TV production. So I've always kind of been in this space. And then when I moved to Canada, I got into the online space, mostly working with online entrepreneurs on their sales and marketing copy and their marketing strategy and then coaching. But what I found, for myself, it's just like you said, there's so many gurus. So I was like chasing different gurus, like I'm sure many of you out there do. I, was buying the online courses. I was in different programs. I was like, okay, which tactic? What's going to be the thing that's going to crack it? This whole online thing. And after a while, I realized that it's not about the tactics. It's not about chasing shiny objects, especially if you are like a coach or you're a consultant. You're somebody who you're selling your knowledge, you're selling your advice, you're selling your expertise. You need to focus on positioning yourself as an authority in your market. It's not about whether you're using Messenger or whether you're using Clubhouse. Those are just tools. You have to start with the fundamentals like of your brand, like who you are, who you serve, what's your message, how do you do it? And those are the things that I sort of started to, first of all, it was a relief to like get off the marketing treadmill. I was like, okay, I don't have to be, an internet marketer. I can just focus on doing business in a way that is more aligned with me. Take time and think about what are my values, what's my vision, who are the people I want to serve, and what is the way I want to serve them. And that has helped me build my authority, and that's what I coach people on, and that's
Mhm.
what I help people with, even with marketing services. Focus on your authority. There's Frank Kern, who's a famous internet like marketing legend guy, said something that I love. He said, building authority or positioning yourself as an authority is the single most important thing you can do to raise your perceived value in your market. So if you think about that, raising your perceived value, like if you raise your perceived value, that means you're going to get better clients. That means you're going to, you're going to get invited to stages like the way Lawrence invited me, right? You're going to get speaking gigs. You're going to get better opportunities for collaboration, because people can see your value. And that's what you need to put forward, not like the marketing tools.
Yeah, it's
Sorry.
no,
Long response.
no, it's all good because you could tell that the work started with you, right? And a lot of times people outward focus and they like you said, I need to get this certification, I get that certification. Again, if you're building yourself and talking about building yourself as an authority, it's making sure that you're actually staying current, right? What are the tools? And then, guess what? You got to go use the tools. Don't just pontificate about the tools. Like, what are the pluses, minuses? And again, it all comes back to that perceived authority. And again, perception. We understand we live in this world of it's immediate gratification and perceived realities for people. And again, if you aren't actually doing the work, I tell you what, it's like smoke and mirrors. At some point, somebody's going to turn the fan on, and they're going to blow the smoke away, and all that's going to be left is what was being concealed and covered by that smoke. And you actually mentioned there are some authority killers, right? As we all trying to get our traction, and I love that you said get off of the marketing treadmill, because that's a stationary thing. But you feel like you're sweating and you get effort, but you're not going anywhere.
You're not going anywhere.
What are some authority killers that you've identified over the years?
Well, I think first of all, because I work largely with women, I market to women. So I would start with that. The biggest authority killer for women is honestly just our mindset. A lot of us have this tendency, and I'm 100% like, this is my issue. So this is why I know it. We tend to play small, like it's like we're kind of raised to downplay our accomplishments. We don't want to be braggadocious, even if we're complimented, we'll be like, oh, it wasn't really, wasn't that, we just downplay everything we do. And that is not helping us. I mean, it really isn't, So a lot of the women, when I work with them one-on-one, it's that struggle to even see themselves as an authority, or to even use the word leader to describe themselves. It's like, you want to be a thought leader, but the most important part of that thought leader is leader, but we don't even want to say we're a leader, so there's just a lot of work that a lot of us still have to do, just in terms of mindset and believing that we are that person, that we want to be. Generally, the other things that I see affect or kill authority, just things like, I'd say the biggest is clarity. Just lack of clarity around your brand, around your message, around your audience. That's always going to detract from authority. Inconsistency with the brand. Look, I was just before we came on, I was telling Lawrence he is so beautifully branded. It's like, I was feeling so like, oh my God, but yeah, I mean, you go to some people, you see them one place, they're saying one thing, you see them somewhere else, they're saying something. It's just not tallying, so you've got to be consistent in your brand and in your message and in just the way you're coming across. I think that's those two are the biggest things I see. Lack of clarity, lack of consistency.
Yeah, and I love the lack of clarity, lack of consistency. And it was funny. It was almost like just got finished within a coaching intensive this past weekend. And as these coaches who are on this journey to become, they bridge gaps for people, right? Coaches put themselves in
Mm-hmm.
positions to begin going after those thinking traps and going after those things, that stinking thinking of not seeing yourself correctly, and like you think you're an expert, but you won't tell anybody about it, or you won't position
Mm-hmm.
yourself to be that leader. And
Mm-hmm.
again, you just, all right, you talk yourself out of doing that thing. And I love the fact that you talked about clarity, right? And a lot of times, I know early on in my career, I because of my background, it's like jack of all trades, master of none. But when
Yeah.
it came to happiness, full-time
Mm-hmm.
happiness and
Mm-hmm.
consistency, of building consistency, it was like, okay, what's your thing? And I
Mm.
had no framing. I had no language to be
Mm.
able to say what my thing was.
Mm.
I could kind of see it, but I couldn't talk about it. And so
Right.
therefore I just kept saying jack of all trades, master of none. But it was
Yep.
frustrating because everybody, and somebody, one of the coaches got on me this weekend, because I used to make fun of the word niche. And I was just like, yeah, niches. Nobody need no niches. Niches get stitches. And it's just like I made fun of it because I didn't know my
Uh-huh.
message. And I love
Right.
that you talk about, you help your clients find their message, and
Mm-hmm.
why the message is helps with them building a foundation for their authority. Like what it like
Absolutely.
what's the importance of finding your voice, your message?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's everything. I think a lot of the times when people think they have marketing problems, what they really have is a messaging problem. Because it doesn't matter how well optimized your funnel is. It doesn't matter how well you targeted your Facebook ad. If your message is off, if your message is not connecting with the people who you're trying to reach, there's no kind of magic that's going to make that work. And if it doesn't matter how passionate you are, how brilliant you are, if nobody understands like what you do, or nobody understands the value of what you bring, it's going to be very difficult to sell, right? So all of that is your message. So the key thing with messaging, obviously, it has to be authentic to you, um, because it's very easy to spot, like when you're using someone else's, when you're kind of trying to sound like someone else, and it's not, you know like, your audience is intelligent. So if it's not authentic to you, if it's not coming from you, it's just not going to land. um, Secondly, you've got to be using your audience's words. You've got to describe things in the way your audience describes things. You got to, know their pains and reflect it back to them in the terms that they use. A lot of the times I see coaches, especially, I think we tend to have these, can have these kind of like very flowery ways of describing what we do, or you come up with some cool acronym for whatever it is you do, and you put it out there, but no one understands. Like, no one knows what it is. It's like nobody, but like, what is that? So, like, I remember there was a lady who I was teaching in this lady's mastermind, and there was this lady who said that what she did was she's like some kind of, like, she was like a spiritual coach, and she would help people like tap into their ancestral powers, their ancestors, to break the issues they were having now. It was kind of cool, and she was very passionate about it, and clearly knew what she was doing, but she was having difficulty selling. So I was like, look, how many people in America are waking up thinking, "Oh, man, if I could just tap into ancestral powers right now." Nobody is thinking that, right? But if you reframe it, like, are you feeling spiritually lost? Are you searching? Then there's millions. You immediately take your market from zero to potentially millions, just by reframing the message to something that people actually say. So that's a lot of the issue I see with coaches, especially.
Oh man, you oh, you jumping all over some stuff, and I love it. I absolutely love it, y'all. Humble, open, and transparent, y'all. What Nkiru just told y'all to do is stop being spooky. She told y'all to you use normal people language, and I mean normal. and
Yeah, yeah.
I could recall like literally when I was serving in the army, and we used to write kind of these mission briefs. They used to like, yo,
Hmm.
read it, like write it so the lowest person in the organization can tell you what the mission is, what's supposed to be
Thank you.
accomplished. And
Yeah,
it's the
yeah.
same way in coaching. And we always say, as a part of the coaching scoring form for certification and credentialing is, are
Hmm.
you using the client's language?
Thank
Are
you.
you, because again, if you start trying to pontificate inside a person, you're like, I'm lost. I don't know what you're talking about. Are we having the same
Hmm.
conversation? I just told you I'm
Right.
lost, and I love you bringing up that part. It's like the ancestral spirituality and connected to the
Yeah,
centuries old hangups and chains. You be like, I'm not in
yeah.
chains. Like, what are you talking about? I don't. That's not me. And like you said,
Right.
nobody's waking up and said, you know what? I'm gonna go Google ancestral back. Like somebody is, but like you said, it goes
Somebody,
from
but
0 to 1
very few
client
people. Yeah.
to a couple million people in the search. And so
Right.
I love that you say that. And sometimes that can be scary for people, right? To
Hmm.
actually, because, and I love what you said. It was like she described it in her head, but
Hmm.
didn't know how to frame it for others to sell it.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
sometimes that can come down to people's level of comfort.
Yep.
What's
Yep.
your
Absolutely.
what do you help your clients? How do you get them to step out of their comfort zone so they could
Hmm.
begin making that actual shift?
There's three of the, I guess there's sort of three core things that I always advise people to do. And in terms of the way I work with people, some of it is services. So some of it would just provide like done for you marketing services that would help establish you as an authority. So doing things like your personal brand, like personal domain website or your bios, because people are really bad about writing about themselves, I've discovered. So whether it's your professional bio, your LinkedIn bio, that kind of thing. And then also, helping you maximize your content. We have a service called the Be Seen Everywhere campaign, where we basically take like a core piece of content, like a video, maybe do a Facebook Live or something, and then we repurpose it into about 30 different pieces so that you can like get the full ROI on the time and energy that you put into creating that content. So those are things that help on the services end that help establish your authority. Um, Now, when I'm coaching people one on one, there's things I always three things I think I always touch on. First of all, like see yourself as a teacher, essentially. So remember what's that movie? Glenn Ross. You know that movie? Always be selling, right? Um, but what I say is always be teaching. Find ways to give value, show what you know. Don't get caught up on like the sales pitch so much. Share what you're learning, because that's another thing. People sometimes are afraid to say they're an authority or to even try and claim that because they think they have to be like, you know, Yoda. They have to be like super guru. You don't. You just have to know more than the people you're teaching. That's it. You know. So share, and even if you're learning something, people also appreciate that. You can be the guide. You don't have to be the guru. You can be the guide. Saying you can say to your audience, "Hey, I'm figuring this thing out." And as I'm figuring it out, I'm taking you along with me. That's very compelling to a lot of people, and it still makes you an authority in their eyes, right? But you've got to put yourself out there to share.
Yeah.
Secondly, no,
No,
go ahead. You
no,
want to ask
no. I
something?
was no, just that point right there, and I love that it said that, and jumping in on that guide on the side, right? Because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people, nobody wants to be walking alone,
Yep.
and people like to feel seen, they like to feel heard, and if you're that
Yep.
speaker, and people like, oh, somebody that finally gets me, right? So go ahead. Point number two. Point number two.
Yeah. The second point, I say, answer questions that your market has. There's people you're interacting with. It could be your clients. It could be in Facebook groups. It could be like go to question sites like Quora or Reddit, right? You'll see the kinds of questions people are asking. So just take those questions and just start answering them. Answer them in your blog posts, answer them in your Facebook lives, answer them in your own content, right? People, it's all out there what people are asking, so might as well answer it, right? Positions you as an authority. Think about how you can make complicated things, how you can simplify things for people. Nobody has time for any overthinking these days. Nobody has time. So if you're able to take something and simplify it for someone, that is so valuable in itself, and you can always curate content. You don't have to create all the time. You could be just a great resource for content in the industry. You don't have to be creating all the time. The other thing I'd say is narrow your niche. You were talking about you don't like niches. Well, it's tough to be an authority in a very big niche, right? So let's say you're a fitness coach and you want to be an authority for fitness for women. That's going to be tough. But maybe you could be an authority for, women who've just had a baby and want to lose the last 10 pounds. Very specific group of people. A lot of need. You could drill down and own that a lot easier than you could own fitness for women. So the more you narrow your niche and get really, really targeted about the problem you can solve, the people you can serve, the more likely you are to establish authority in that. And the third thing I would say, I probably said more than three, but the final thing I'd say on that is leverage other people's platforms. Like you see me here on Lawrence's platform, right? So now I'm talking to Lawrence's audience who I didn't know before. Leverage other people's platforms. They're out there. Podcasts, YouTube shows, Facebook groups, coaching programs, even before you get to speaking on people's stages. It's borrow other people's audiences.
I love that. Yeah. I love that, Nkiru. Okay. I mean, all of it, because again, it just pieces things together, right? And as you gave all of those examples, it's like, okay, what's your first next step, right? And it may not be, don't wrap your head around all of it. It may just be, how we met, on a podcast platform where it says, find a guest, be a guest, right? And I need guests. So just reaching out to people is like, hey, here's my platform. Here's the type of speakers I'm looking for. It's open to you. Right. And again, us and I believe a lot of times one of the things you said there is really checking your ego along the way. And like you said, not always believing you have to be all things to all people. Just show up as you. Be authentic in what you're delivering. And one thing that and I'll fight you, full out fight anybody, take it till you make it. I was like, that came from a place of, I believe, heartfelt. People were just trying to figure a thing out. But some people have taken that and that's turned into people's grind. Like, I may not know how to tow trucks, but I'm gonna buy a tow truck, dump truck, and everything else. I'm gonna grind over there, and then I'm gonna go be a copy repairman. And he's just like, well, now you turn around and you got 15 jobs, and you don't do any of them well. But like you said, that's the big ocean. And I never forget it. My coach sent me this spreadsheet to fill out, and she was like, "What's your ocean? What's your ocean?" And again, I used to hate niches, but now when I figured out what my work was, I was like, oh, it's a very specific word. I work on disposition stuff as it pertains to culture. That is your values, that's your beliefs, that's your character. That's all that. That's part of my pet peeves is people who don't treat people right. So that became my stuff. And so now that led me back to school, and that led me into getting more deep into this work. And so I want to thank you so much, because this is tip of the iceberg with Nkiru, this conversation around particularly branding and becoming an authority. And so in the chat across the platforms, I'm going to put your website and I'm going to put your freebie that you're giving away. But I want people to be able to connect with you. How can they get connected with you?
Honestly, the best way to connect with me is probably connect with me personally is probably on LinkedIn, which I'll put I'm just Nkiru Asika on LinkedIn. Okay, great. So that's probably the best way to connect with me personally. You can also, if you're a woman, you can join our Facebook group, Women Building Authority. You can find that on Facebook. And then, Facebook page. We're just building out the Instagram now, but go follow. But yeah, but what I would say is for women out there who are serious about stepping up and want to go from being that best kept secret to being a visible authority in your market, what we are packaging that is really going to be powerful is our membership called the Accelerator. And that will be launching in September. But it's possible to join the waitlist now, which is on the womenbuildingauthority.com website. But basically, with that, we're going to take you through like the 5 pillars of building authority, which are: 1, to be memorable. That's creating a memorable brand. 2, to be credible, right? So do you have like the assets in place that make you credible in your market? 3, to be visible. So that's when we get into stuff like podcasting, publishing, PR, that kind of stuff. 4, to be profitable. Do you have the marketing vehicles in place to now sell that brand? And 5, to be scalable, right? How can you leverage your time and your efforts to really scale your business? So that's what the Accelerator will be all about, and I would love to see some of you be part of it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So thank you so much for sharing this time with me, with my audience. And again, y'all better connect with Nkiru while you possibly can afford her. And then you have to be relegated to conferences and incubators and all this other stuff just so you can get a glimpse of her. So thank you so much for giving up your time,
Thanks
your
so much,
talent, and your gift.
Lawrence.
Yeah, all right.
Thanks so much. I really enjoyed it.
All right, y'all. So until next time, continue to be kind to each other, and always, always, always try to be humble, open, and transparent with everything you do. So until next time, folks, be well. See y'all later.